Hello everybody, today I'll be doing the beauty brand tag. This one was created by Tara Brooke. I will put her channel over here and the tag video over here if you are interested in checking her out and giving her channel a little bit of a look-see. Look-see? Is that a word? Is that a phrase? I have no idea. But I saw this tag originally on LS's channel and I found it to be like quite thought-provoking, quite intriguing, so I figured I might as well do this on my own channel as well. So naturally, if you're interested in doing this tag, the tag questions will be down below. But if you are new and you've never seen my face before, let me just take a quick moment to introduce myself to you. My name is Anya and I run this channel, and on this channel I basically post videos all about makeup and artistry and creativity and consumerism, basically a whole bunch of subtopics related to makeup and the beauty industry and the place that we have within it. I love being creative with makeup. I find it to be a very fun hobby for me. I also love talking about consumerism on my channel as well, and I spend a lot of time talking about the makeup industry and the YouTube industry as a whole. So my channel is pretty much a melting pot of all things makeup related. So if you're interested in checking it out, it is always down below. And I also have a makeup Instagram onto which I post IGTV tutorials and photos on my looks. So if you're interested in seeing photos of makeup looks such as this one, check out my Instagram. I'll put it on the screen. So the very first question is, think back to when you first started your makeup collection. Are there any brands that you used then that you still use today? The two brands that really came to my attention when I was reading this question would be ColourPop and Anastasia Beverly Hills. And interestingly enough, those are two very different, very different brands, basically. Anastasia Beverly Hills has always had a sort of like prestige, and even back when I was like getting into makeup, when I was really getting into YouTube videos, Anastasia Beverly Hills just popped up as a very just up there, very, I would say, almost lifestyle-oriented brand. Not that they're selling lifestyle products as of now, but it's more like the whole cachet with Anastasia Beverly Hills in my mind was that if you bought their products, you were somehow accepted, or you somehow were on your way to becoming more accepted as a very serious and as a very studious makeup lover. And of course, that is just ridiculousness. I don't think any brand necessarily should have that kind of title in one's life, but for a while I was like so bent on really buying almost everything I could from the Anastasia Beverly Hills. I went through a phase that I was trying to buy all of their makeup palettes, and keep in mind at that time Anastasia Beverly Hills didn't necessarily have a lot of makeup, so it was an expensive endeavor that I set out to do, but it wasn't necessarily the brand that it is today with so much makeup. But I was like such a collector back then, and I really wanted Anastasia Beverly Hills products. So I still have a certain like for the brand today, but not nearly as much as I did back then, because I can definitely say that I'm not collecting everything that they have. I just tend to pick and choose what I want. I do love their eyeshadow primer, by the way. It is my favorite item from that brand. But the other brand that I want to talk about, ColourPop. For a long time, I was buying so much from ColourPop because ColourPop was a kind of brand that you didn't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to get a lot of things from ColourPop. I haven't bought a lot of things from ColourPop recently whatsoever because I have so much from ColourPop in my collection. But yeah, I still use them today, definitely. The next question is follow-up. Which brands have you moved on from? The two brands that come to mind would be Kat Von D Beauty and Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Now, Kat Von D, I don't know if I've published this video before this one, but I've already filmed and edited a video talking all about Kat Von D, showing you guys the Kat Von D items that I still have in my collection, the Kat Von D items that I bought. And in that video, talked more about how Kat Von D for such a long time was a brand that I really related to, and a brand that I was really drawn to because of the artistry surrounding it, because of Kat Von D's creativity. That was before all the controversy started. Now I feel very differently about Kat Von D, but for a time I was really obsessed with the brand. Now, however, completely different story. I'm just not too interested in them as a brand anymore, even though now they're KVD Beauty, which is a whole other thing. But the next brand that I'm not interested in would be Jeffree Star. And interestingly enough, I was like interested in Jeffree Star Cosmetics, but I wasn't necessarily getting anything from his brand. I have only one item from Jeffree Star, that is his liquid lipstick in the shade Mannequin, and when I got it I was super excited. Ever since then, Jeffree Star Cosmetics is not necessarily a brand that I want to support, not because I want to make any sort of big deal out of it, simply because I don't necessarily have a big makeup budget and I prefer giving my money towards brands that really inspire me and brands that I can really just support. Are there any brands you thought were so expensive that you would never buy anything from them, but now consider at least one of their products to be a holy grail? If so, which brand and which product? That would definitely be Charlotte Tilbury, specifically the Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks. I have two of them. The only reason I have two of them is because I bought some lip sets from Sephora, some value sets, and there were two lipsticks and two separate value sets that I just ended up getting. So that's why I have two of the Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks. What is a popular brand that you've never tried and don't think you ever will? Why? Tom Ford. Simply because Tom Ford is, quite frankly, one of the most luxurious brands in the luxury makeup category. And they have an audience, they have a customer base that really responds to them in a positive way from what I can tell. But I am honestly like not a very financially conservative person, but I tend to be financially conservative. I don't know if it's that obvious, but I tend to be very attuned to where I want my money to go. And yes, money is a little bit of a taboo topic, and honestly, I kind of feel awkward talking about it on my YouTube channel sometimes because, I mean, it's one of those things that you're not supposed to talk about, but I really think that it's healthy to have an open conversation about finances. And for me personally, where I'm at and where I see myself being in like the next 5 years, for instance, I would much rather spend a certain amount of money on makeup and keep it that way, and then take any extra income that I might have and put it towards more sustainable avenues, if that makes any sense. I don't necessarily want to be spending so much on makeup and then look back in 5 years and be like, okay, wait, I could have put that money towards something else that would actually grow my money versus towards makeup that, well, expires. So yeah, Tom Ford is definitely a brand that I don't see myself getting anything from. Like, it's not in my nature to spend so much on a makeup product, especially since they came out with their foundation recently that is more than $100. That is expensive, and that is not something I want to get. What brand perfectly encapsulates your current makeup aesthetic? Explain. Kaleidos, definitely. I have two of their eyeshadow palettes, and whenever I get compliments on makeup these days, I'm usually wearing a Kaleidos eyeshadow palette, specifically because the finishes are amazing. The quality is just beautiful. I believe I'm wearing a shade from one of their eyeshadow palettes on my eyes today, I think. I'm wearing a combination of things, but I just love their eyeshadows and I love their packaging and I love their aesthetic. It's so unique and so beautiful and so creative. I really like the brand, and I think that I will definitely be purchasing more from them in the future. Are there any brands you haven't wanted to try purely because you don't like their packaging? Vizier. I've been binge watching a lot of LS's videos lately. I just go through phases where I binge watch people's channels like a lot. And something that she said in one of her videos was that you can't necessarily judge an expensive brand or any brand in general unless you have actually tried them. And that is something that I kind of like caught myself, and I'm like, oh, I do that. I do a lot of that. And I don't necessarily ever want to sit and be like, okay, yes, I know exactly how a formula performs, even though I've never tried it. That is not what I want to say whatsoever. But at the same time, I do want to share my personal opinion as to what the value of a makeup product is in my mind. Everybody has their own opinion, and yes, I've never tried Viseart, but for me, I think if you're charging so much for your makeup, you might as well make the packaging a little bit more fully rounded and a little bit more luxurious if you're charging luxurious makeup prices. I understand that they are a makeup artist based brand, but at the same time, I feel like they're charging a lot for makeup that is essentially packaged very cheaply. Is there a brand you've only tried because their packaging lured you in? For a while, I was very much into like Korean Asian beauty. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to experiment with it. And I was on this website, I forget what it's called. I don't know. But I was on this website and I saw this brand called Babyface. And I basically like wanted to try it out. And so I tried out a BB cream right over here. And then I also tried out their eyeshadows. And the thing about this brand is their packaging is so insanely cute. And at this time, I was a lot younger and I was definitely less careful as to like what I was buying. I was just trying this out to like experiment with it. But I will definitely say that a big reason why I got this was because of the packaging. These are so insanely cute. They're really like pretty, and yeah, it's just like a really big cute factor over here. They're not necessarily what I like in the shadow. From what I can tell, they are not necessarily very pigmented. They're just washes, like light washes of color. Especially this color, you'd expect it to be super pigmented, but it's not. Some would say drugstore and mid-range prices are starting to overlap. What drugstore beauty brands are guilty of making this happen, and what are your thoughts on rising drugstore makeup prices? In my mind, I think that L'Oreal is definitely a brand that really, really encapsulates the rising in makeup prices when it comes to the drugstore. With so many brands, you kind of have to like really look for items that are under $10, which was not the case like even 5 years ago. But before, it was very easy to find those items. And for a time, I actually stopped buying as much drugstore makeup, and I would buy like a few essential items, but for the most part, I stopped buying drugstore makeup because I was kind of like, you know what? I'm paying this amount for a drugstore product, and honestly, it is getting so expensive. I might as well pay like a third of the amount more and get a more high-end product. But at the same time, I kind of miss those days when you could go into a drugstore with $25 and come out with makeup for a full face. With anti-consumerism and an eat the rich mentality starting to take a hold in the YouTube beauty space, are there any brands you still feel a loyalty towards? If so, why? Honestly, I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea of brand loyalty because for me, brands are businesses, in my personal opinion, and brands are there to make money off of you. They might feel a certain connection to their customer base, and that is fine, but I do think that in so many cases, in fact, most cases, brands are trying to capitalize off of that personal connection that they have with their customers in exchange for monetary gain, which is all well and good. That's just business. But I don't necessarily, like these days, I don't necessarily have a very positive opinion on artificially constructed authenticity. It's kind of a term I made up for brands trying to construct an artificial brand of authenticity in order to get us to spend more money on them. So I personally, for that reason, I don't necessarily feel any form of brand loyalty towards a brand. I have felt slightly betrayed by some brands because every now and then brands come up with like this new scandal, or there are some bigger brands like Too Faced, Kat Von D, for instance, that I had like a very strong attachment towards, but then some things happened and scandals started to occur, and I was like, wait, you were not who I thought you were. But then as you get older, I guess, you start being like, okay, yeah, they're actually a business, and I don't necessarily need to feel a brand loyalty towards them because they're just here for my money, which is all well and good. I appreciate capitalism, but at the same time, I'm not going to feel loyal towards your brand. Are there any brands that you feel give off exclusivity vibes, making you feel like you aren't cool enough or pretty enough to buy from? Nowadays, I don't feel any sort of like fear, like going towards a makeup counter and being like, oh yes, I'm looking at this product, or I'm just looking around, because I'm kind of like, I'm the customer, I'm going in respectfully, I feel like I deserve to be here, so I'm not necessarily going to feel nervous or gonna feel like your brand is too good enough for me, because it isn't. What's worse, choice fatigue, exhaustion from too many makeup releases, or a lackluster quarterly launch from a brand you're typically excited about? Something about choice fatigue, a good thing about choice fatigue, is that it allows you to realize the saturation of products in the market, and it allows you to have the knowledge that even if you do get something, guess what, there's going to be something that's newer and better that comes along, and chances are you're probably going to like the item better. Having this like oversaturation of product desensitizes me to any kind of connection or any kind of infatuation that I might feel for a product, and instead I am sort of like encouraged to look for that ideal product that inspires me so much that I want to get it over all others. And then a lackluster quarterly release from a brand that I'm excited about. Even if I'm excited about a certain brand and they release a lackluster release, okay, I know that there are other brands that are on the market that I like. that I'll probably be getting things from. And if I don't like that release from that brand, and I think that it's a lackluster release, then I might as well save my money and think about what I could get next time. So, you know, it's either or. Have brand trips or sponsored videos ever made you actually interested in a product slash beauty launch? Whenever I look at brand trips, I feel so many things. First of all, I feel a little bit of envy because I love to travel, and the whole idea of having a paid work trip, even though it's a work trip, the whole idea of having a paid work trip would feel amazing, and I would love that, even though it probably would never happen to me. So I feel a little bit of envy. But at the same time, I look at a product that the brand is trying to promote with that trip as a small, almost insignificant component of that entire spectacle, if you will. Buying that product won't get me the experience that they used to market that product. And quite honestly, if I'm looking at somebody's vlogs or if I'm seeing a brand trip from an influencer's point of view, I am far more interested in the experience rather than the product that's being promoted. So as a result, I don't think any brand has necessarily increased my interest in a product with a brand trip for other influencers. Are there any indie brands you hope to see sold at Ulta or Sephora in the future? Linda Hallberg is definitely a brand that I would love to see sold in more mainstream retailers. I would love to see her product in brick and mortar stores in the United States. It would be so wonderful to be able to go to a Sephora or an Ulta and be able to try her things, be able to test out her items. If I went into a Sephora and I saw that display and I saw her in Sephora, I would feel so happy for her because she would have gone literally across the world and just landed in a Sephora by my house. Which is so, which with any brand is mind-blowing. If you could give any beauty brand a rebranding, which brand would it be and what elements of the brand would you modify? I would try and modify Kylie Cosmetics. I know, it would be daunting, but honestly, I've done so many videos talking about Kylie Cosmetics, but in my mind, now, with this tag video and looking at Kylie Cosmetics with the perspective that this question gives me, I feel like Kylie Cosmetics, it seems like a fun thing for Kylie Jenner to do, especially now since she has her daughter. She can just really bring in her daughter to so much of the creative process, which is so cute to watch. But then at the same time, I feel like Kylie Cosmetics at this point, right, they're a they're a billion-dollar company. Definitely a multi-million-dollar company at this point. And Kylie Skin, at this point, they're a multi-million-dollar company as well. I feel like the very first thing I would do to rebrand Kylie Cosmetics would be to utilize the extreme profits that they're making and put it back into the company to make it more innovative. You know, I try to rebrand the skincare line. I would try and delegate a little bit better. I would try to make products that would hopefully be a little bit more like the ordinary in terms of price point, but with that same innovation, but with a Kylie Jenner stamp on it. So that would be cool. That would be really interesting. And I feel like there's so many different ways you can reinvent a brand like Kylie Cosmetics because they clearly have funds to do so. Those are all the questions that I have to answer with this tag. There were 15 questions, but I did ramble on for quite a bit. So hopefully I've edited this down to at least under 20 minutes. That would be preferable, but thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video and found this tag interesting. If you are also a creator and you want to do this tag, I will put all the questions down below, and I'll also put Tara's channel on the screen again so you can go and check her out. But with that being said, I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.